Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. Today I've got the answer to your Kroxigor problems. Are you tired of the weedy, sad-looking, out-of-date sculpts that GW has refused to update? Well, I've got the perfect remedy for you. And if you happen to like resin models and Mierce Miniature stuff, even better, because that's where these came from. These are axes. An ack would be... Oh, shoot, where'd you go? Here's ack, because it says so right here. Ack is one of the Savrakar. That sounds right, yeah, Savrakar. The Savrar were the regular lizardmen. The Savrakar are their bigger lizardmen. So this came out pretty recently, and I ordered them way back when, and I got Mulac as well, which will show off, and he was kind of the hero leader kindred model. But I have been itching. I haven't even opened these yet. I've been waiting to do it for you guys. So you can see the body here. If you've never built any of Mierce's models, especially their newer stuff, I gotta say, it's just really, really nice quality resin. And honestly, not much really can compare to it, and especially since they've done a lot of these digital sculpts, I've got really no complaints at all, except for the fact that this guy has no top of his head. Where is your... It's right here. Okay, I'll shut up. Anyway, so it looks like he consists of a two-part head, a large-sized body. We'll have to grab some lizardmen later on to show you how they stack up. I don't actually own any of the old Kroxigor. They're too ugly and too out of date, and I don't really have anything to compare them to from GW in that regard. He does have his great axe right here. Oh, and I don't think this guy was actually... The leaders of the unit were called the Savrakar. Not the Savrakar. The Savrakar, like arc at the end of it. Anyway, the tail and then the two arms. So that is Ack. Let's see what else we have in this unit. They all came on 50mm bases. I just don't have them on screen at the moment, in case you're curious. This is Kolk, or Kook. Either name works for me. Again, we have the great axe, tail, two arms, and two-piece head, and then some extra spikes. I don't know where those are going to go. Kolk. Kook. I don't know. I'll have to figure out where those are going to go. I see some spots like right here. Plenty of little tags if you want. I do like their rather eclectic armor made out of bones, scraps, leftovers. And that's kind of what the Khthon are all about. In Darklands, they're basically rebelled slaves. Ran away from Atlantis. And I mean, who'd blame them? This is Tuck. And he's not everlasting. Again, really nice sculpts on the body. All kinds of gruesome mementos. And not as much armor on this guy. Head is one piece. We have a teeny tiny skull or something there. It's going to have to go on. The whole unit so far is armed with great axes. I know sometimes Mierce offers up units with various weapon options, and then they'll kind of mix up the sculpts as well. Doesn't seem like that's been the case so far with these guys, but, you know, considering what Kroxigor is supposed to use anyway. Alright, somebody's jawbone. It's funny how just some weapons are nicer than others, and some are a bit more primitive. Some nice armor on his shoulder there. I wonder where that jawbone's going to go. Again, we have a two-piece head. I'm guessing... I thought it would go like right here. Not sure. In case you're curious, I do have a human model handy. These guys aren't as gigantic as some of the other crazy Darkland stuff. Okay, this is Grukk. I believe Grukk is the standard bearer. Icon, or whatever they want to call it. Yeah. Again, every model so far is completely individual in all the gear and garbage that they're wearing and carrying. Looks like an actual piece of metal armor there. An improvement. I like the lizard totem. Reminds me of the old Hawaiian gecko stuff. Now, how that's going to all go together, I'm not 100% sure. Oh, no, this is interesting. Look, you have one arm with the Oh, okay. I was going to say, the right arm actually has a short close combat blade instead of a great weapon, and then you have the actual staff on the left hand to attach to, like that. Okay, that makes sense. And then we have Grukk. I thought we saw Grukk. No, we saw Kolk. All their names are so similar. Oh boy, one of my favorite types is where they have both of their hands. Now, I gotta say, I hate attaching two-handed great weapons to a model, but luckily, since Mierce, especially with the 3D sculpts, it's been a heck of a lot easier getting everything keyed together, so that is a plus. Now, you look like you're actually supposed to be... Aha! I knew it. Okay, so Grukk and Grukk are actually based on the same model. Obviously, Grukk is the standard. Grukk is the actual warrior model. So if you're interested in ordering just one, if you really like this pose, you can pick either or then. And finally, we have Mulac. And Mulac is the big head honcho, big cheese of the bunch. He is a separate model, but when Mierce was taking pre-orders on this guy, he was included with the whole club here. He actually seems a little bit bigger. That would be because he is a little bit bigger. He actually has like armor on. Wrappings all around the legs. I see wrappings on legs, I inherently think of Troll Bloods from War Machine. That is a big axe. That is a big axe. Oh, that's right. He gets to wear the Triceratops skull. I believe it goes on his head. We'll find out. Yeah, I think it goes like that. And then you have the head underneath it. So that's going to be kind of cool. So, interesting looking models. And fingers crossed, I'm assuming that everything is going to go together nice and smooth if I don't damage it in the process. And I will be back in just a moment after putting them all together so I can show them off to you. So sit tight. Alright, we got our Savrakar all done here, and unfortunately in the process of building them, I have absolutely no idea who is who now. So you can see they fit pretty comfortably on their 50mm bases, which, if my memory serves me correctly, which is entirely debatable, is the size that a Kroxigor is supposed to be on. A lot of these guys are kind of hunched over. So, again, apologies to Mierce. I don't remember who is who. I know all the bags were labeled. Construction-wise, everything was nice. I had a little bit of issue with putting the keyed pieces into the slots. The slots were a bit shallow, so I did have to trim a lot of parts to get them to fit. Not the actual parts, but just the keyed chunk. I want to say this is axes. Yeah, come on, Mierce. Anyway, I'm pretty sure here is the leader of the unit. I don't know why him, but I'm just saying so. What was interesting is I had this extra jaw, like a fossilized jawbone, and it's supposed to go on somebody as a necklace-like decoration, but I'm really not sure who, so I gotta double check that. There's 3 of the pile. Another one. And these guys had a tongue sticking out, and it snapped off naturally as I was trying to build it. That shouldn't be there. I love their cluttered and ramshackle armor. Every one of them is just wearing whatever scraps and bits of junk that they could find. They're all unique sculpts, which is pretty typical of Mierce. Usually you get at least 5 to 8 different individual sculpts. And then here is the banner bearer with his cool little gecko looking sign there. I had to blue tack it because I was going to paint it separately and it's kind of in the way of him. So that is the unit itself when they're all in focus. And then, because I pre-ordered it way back when, and I've had it sitting in front of me even longer, but that's beside the point. We have Mulac, and Mulac was the Savrakar. Savrakar, yes. And he has an optional top part of his head. You can put him with just a regular frill lizard-like face like the rest of the Savrakar, but naturally with the Triceratops skull, he had to have that. It wasn't even an option. He's also a fair bit taller than the rest of the crew, but then again, he is standing a bit more upright, and I don't know what I did with his base. I did have included base for him, and I think I put something else on it that I was working on, so I don't know where that is now. So you're probably wondering at this point, just how big are these guys? Because yeah, they're all on 50mm bases, but how tall are they? Well, I actually found a regular lizardman from Darklands Khthon faction, which would be Savrar, if I remember correctly. And this is the original sculpt. They've been resculpted digitally and are quite nice. Not to say that this one wasn't nice, but you can see they are a good head or two taller than our basic friend there. And just to give you an idea how a regular sized lizardman is, now he was originally on a 40mm base. All of the Savrar were originally. They're back on 30s like most infantry units. Grabbing a more familiar model to you perhaps, a GW Saurus, Seraphon, whatever you want to call them. There is a pretty good size difference there. Okay. I'm going to get some of the other ones out of the way just so we can do a better job of comparing. Like so. Okay. Grabbing some other stuff. Let's get some humans in there. An actual Mierce human. Give you an idea of actually an in-scale shot. This is all by the same sculptor, Bob, with the name that I am going to butcher, and I'm sure people are going to chide me about that, so I'm not going to bother to pronounce it. Bob P, we'll put that, and we'll put his name down there in the description box because absolutely deserves credit for some really nice sculpts. Let's see, some other familiar faces that you might know. Frostgrave models from North Star. Some dude with a fancy hat. Mantic Basilians. So you could see that they definitely have that big, impactful shock troop-like heavy unit going on there. Grabbing some bigger meteor models. Bigger than a fat guy, so that's good. And grabbing a couple other interesting Lizardman models. So grabbing some of the Lost Kingdom stuff. I don't remember the Quaddle Guard. That's what these guys are. The Temple Guard type model. They're pretty close in stature, but obviously there's a lot more bulk on the Savrakar. And if you're going to go all in on Kroxigor, I still think my gold star standard right now is the, I don't know their name, Exocoatl or something like that. The big dudes. Big Lost Kingdom miniatures dudes. They're just absolutely massive. But stylistically, they're a whole lot different. So yeah, he's got a lot more of the Mesoamerican thing going on, whereas these guys have a very specific Darklands cobbled together, leftover as the Khthon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The snake faction, the reptile faction, really were supposed to be like ex-slaves that just scrap together whatever they could find. So you could see that very much so in their armor and gear. It's just real piecemeal, which I really like the look of. And if you're a better painter than I am, I'm sure you could really have a field day with just a variety of colors and textures and things like that. There's a lot to love about what you've got to work with here if you're really into the painting aspect. Even from the building aspect, I don't think these were too complicated, and it's nice to see Mierce continue to do something besides little short, stubby guys with fancy mustaches and long hair. But, you know, you got to do what pays the bills, so you can give the people their Vikings and Chthonian or whatever they want. Me, I will happily continue to take whatever cold-blooded giant monsters they throw at. the community. So with that said, this is High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures. Saying thanks for watching. We'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.